Welcome to our podcast from the Darkhorse's mouth. This is our first episode titled Origin Story. A little bit of background on myself. My name is Dan Garzella. I'm the owner of Darkhorse Insurance Brokers. And this is Carly Garzella.
Hi, everyone.
She is, a lot of people think we're married.
Nope.
But she's actually not. She's my sister, and we're about 18 months apart.
Best friends.
So a lot of origin stories going on here. From, of course, this is our very first podcast. My second experience in doing a podcast. I actually had done one previously. I was a guest on it.
You did?
Yeah, I did. It was for another company I own called Avalon. Well, obviously you know, right?
Yeah.
Avalon, and they wanted me to talk about our proprietary property product. And so I spent talk about getting outside your comfort zone, right? This is one of the getting outside of my comfort zones, which is of course a theme throughout and a theme through, just succeeding long term. But so I was asked to be on this podcast, and I had a minute and a half of basically time that they had me talk. They had a list of questions. I probably spent 12 hours on that minute and a half trying to make sure that I got every word, everything completely right, so that I felt, of course, comfortable doing it.
You just got to go with it.
Yeah, I did go with it. And I think I looked angry the whole time, but I did get some positive feedback with it. So at any rate, that was my first time being as part of a podcast. This is and I think your first time too, actually. My
first time ever. Yeah. I hope it doesn't take 12 hours.
It
just saying.
It might if I keep talking.
Okay.
So origin story. So the purpose of the podcast, of course, Darkhorse Insurance Brokers. I was a captive farmers, or I should say we were captive farmers agents, but I was a captive farmers agent for 10 years. Mm-hmm. Started a scratch insurance agency at the age of 23, from Michigan, moved to Arizona, moved here, had no warm market.
What made you want to be an insurance agent?
Nothing.
Why?
Nothing.
Yeah, no one likes insurance.
There's nothing. I remember as the story goes, I had my background is in computer science, information technology. That's what I went to school for. Moved down to Arizona with no job, no money, had some seasonal management experience, and waited tables.
Serving tables.
Yeah, so figured I could make life happen with that experience, and got out to Arizona, went out 2 weeks, went to 50 bars, restaurants, found a job at a fine dining restaurant at the time called Harris's. It was off of Camelback. Thought I had life made, had a pretty good job. I still had a little bit of money left, so I went out that weekend and, of course, spent it all. And then
what bar did you go to? Do you remember?
All of them. I think it was Salty Senoritas was maybe one of them.
Oh, yeah. And I don't think that's there anymore. Is it?
Nah, I think they might have closed the final one down.
Yeah.
But at any rate.
Anyone, go on.
I had a fun weekend. Went to go on a Wednesday into my first day of work. Saw the hiring manager with his head down, shirt untucked. Walked up to him, said, "Hey, what's going on?" I said, He said, "I hate to do this to you, son, but the owner just came in today and shut down the restaurant." So I spent all the money I had. I didn't have a job, so I took the first job I could get, which was renewing Reader's Digest subscriptions.
Awful. That sounds awful.
It was terrifying.
Not lying.
It was very humbling because I came from a place where I was like cool guy in college, and then all of a sudden I'm sitting in a basically a lunchroom setting in a suit with people that are like 16, 17, 18-year-olds renewing Reader's Digest subscriptions, and it was quite the experience.
Yeah.
But I did get one thing from that. So one of the things I got from that I still use today is it's not ask a marketing. It's telemarketing.
Oh, yeah. So, you use that all the time in the agency.
So I did get one good thing from that experience other than just humility, which is always a good quality for everyone. And so at any rate, while I was doing that, I got a second job at a place called Rosita's Mexican Kitchen, of course, being from Michigan. And at the time, there was Taco Bell. There was no authentic Mexican food. So
we had no exposure to
I got out here. All the food
authentic.
Looked the same. And it was, great life experience. And so while I was doing that, and looking for a job in my field, which is, basically computers and business. A recruiter from Farmers Insurance called me up, said, looks like you possess some of the qualities we're looking for. I had that seasonal management experience I talked about, and he said, what do you think about coming in for an interview? And I thought to myself, why the hell would I want to do that? Mm-hmm. I remember my Allstate agent wasn't impressed. I thought insurance, didn't really know or care much about it. But I got in there and they're like, effectively, if you work hard, here's what you can accomplish residually. Residual income's a big part of insurance. It's really why we do it. No one hits home runs out of the gate. You got to hit a lot of singles and doubles for a long time to really make things go. And then eventually at the highest levels, maybe you can hit some home runs, but that takes a lot of time to get there.
How long did it take you to hit your first home run?
Well, it's all relative, right? Because when I started with Farmers, the way they had it set up at the time is, I had 90 days. Can you cut it or not? They gave me access to the systems and basically a phone book and a phone, a lead list. I bought some Take the Leads, I think they're called at the time. And I had 90 days to write 30 home and auto policies and cross-sell 3 life policies. And if I accomplished that, then they would effectively set me up over a 6-month time period, and they'd give me a loan. So arguably my first home run was actually making it to first base, which was getting through that
90 days.
Yeah, through that 90-day period with, again, no warm market. I was 23. All the big name carriers want the person that's got the house, 2 cars. They don't want the non-standard auto driver. So everyone that potentially would have been in my warm market, or not my warm market, but in their target market, wasn't in my target market. And I had no money to market. So it was just making calls and going business to business and working 2 jobs 7 days a week from 8 a.m. to midnight, which is effectively what happened. And so first home run, or at least first monumental thing that happened, was getting past that first 90 days. And then, of course, it was another 6 months of, here's the numbers you need to hit. If I hit the top numbers in 6 months, then they gave me a loan of effectively $60,000. And then to build the business, and then if I hit the top numbers over 4 years, they waived it, which I was able to do in 2 years.
What was that like during that 2 years?
It was, again, same thing. I was just going nonstop. In fact, I'm still going nonstop. It's just,
you don't stop.
I'm doing it with a little bit more money now. Whereas before, it's just trying to make ends meet. But that's also so the thing working against me, of course, is no warm market, no target market, my age, no experience, all those types of things. But there's also was working for me in the aspect that I didn't have a family. I didn't have kids at the time. I just had me. My expenses were low, so it was advantageous to me from that fact that I didn't have a lot holding me back. And then it was just through just sheer will and continue to grind that got me through that. That
whatever it takes mentality.
Yeah, that whatever it takes.
That grind
mentality. And so, that was the farmer's experience. And of course, was a farmer's agent for 10 years. Carly, when did you join us at?
2012. Actually, do you remember before I graduated college, I came knocking and I was like, please give me an internship, because I couldn't find one. And
That's
then
right.
I went door-to-door marketing for your farmer's agency for a summer while I worked at a restaurant to try and find a job so I could move to Arizona. So I'd go around to mortgage agencies and, hey, and they're like, no, we already have a farmer's agent. So I did that forever. And then I did some marketing for you in other ways in terms of, remember those mints?
Yes, I still have the box in my garage.
Those weren't a big hit, but whatever. So I started, that was 2005. And then 2012 is when I officially took a full-time role.
That's right.
You.
Because as soon as you had insurance on your resume,
I couldn't get out.
Yeah, you couldn't get
I'm
out.
Stuck. You're doomed, folks. If ever you get an insurance, you're screwed.
You get that license. That's
you
you
are forever.
have 90% chance you're forever in insurance.
Yeah, you don't get out. But it's a great career to all of those in insurance.
Yes, it certainly is. So you joined 2012. I started in 2003. So you're in like the last 2 years of the farmers world. And again, I had a lot of success in that world. Was President's Council, and for those of you that are maybe with a different, have experience with a different company like Allstate, American Family, State Farm, et cetera, it's effectively their top 0.5%. And then was also nominated for Commercial Agent of the Year several years running, which is top 5 out of approximately 15,000 agents. And so I had a lot of success in the captive world. Made the move to the independent world. The independent world, of course, we started in 2014. I had realized in the 10 years with captive, which one thing I do want to preface, it gave me my start. I learned a lot. I likely wouldn't be where I'm at right now had I not had the opportunity presented to me by farmers. So very, very thankful for that. But I did get to a point to where after, when you only have, you're only as good as the solution that you're able to provide. And when you only have one solution and that solution is controlled by people that are not you, then real quick, 3 rate cycles, rates go up. Customers don't understand. What can you do? Can't do much.
Right. And then we had to turn away so much business because we only had one option.
Yeah, turn away business, your retention's down.
Close ratios.
And so really got to the point to where we had capped out that business model. And at the time I was 32. So I had a lot of life left, a lot I wanted to do. And I think the biggest thing for me, Carly, and maybe you remember this, is we had developed a good team. Mm-hmm. We had developed a young team, because when you're in the captive world, you don't have the revenue that the independent world does. So you have to be resourceful. And my way of being resourceful is I took individuals that weren't in college. They didn't have college degrees. They were young, probably 18, 19, 20. And I developed them. And over the time of developing them, 5 years, they start to get older. They have different income expectations. I got to the point to where I had promised a lot. Here's where you could go with me if you work hard, and through no fault of their own and through no fault of my own, I couldn't get them there.
Yeah. One of the coolest stories that I tell most people that we bring on board is that story how you sat the 6 of us down in the conference room in our old office and asked us, hey, we could go one of 2 ways. We could stay where we're at, or we could grow and go the independent route, and then we can accomplish far more than what we're doing here. So that is just such a cool story, because how many owners actually ask their staff what they want to do? And from there, we were all bought in. We were ready to rock, and we just picked up the phone. Remember, we were calling agencies to try to acquire agencies first. We didn't know what we were doing. We just decided that's what we were doing, and we committed to it, and we all did it.
Yeah, it's funny because I forget some of those stories, and then you just bring it up, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, we did do that. And I think the thing that was running through my head, so when you're looking to make the move, and I'm sure there's probably a lot of you out there that kind of feel the same way. Like at that time, I did have a son. I had a 2-year-old. This is what I was building this for up to that point, is for him. I did have a house, even though I wanted to play a bigger game. I was doing pretty well financially myself. Like I could have continued to maybe grow by acquisition, things of that nature. And really the crux of it initially is, hey, the team that helped me get there, like, what do they want to do? What are they inspired by? If the whole team was like, no, we don't want to do it, then, maybe the decision-making process is a little bit different, at least in my world. And so I remember, now that you bring it up, like, yeah, that's what we want to do. We're all committed to it. And then I had to ask myself the question,
Are
which
you
is
ready?
the big question is what happens if it doesn't work?
Yeah.
And what are you committed to? Like, if you lost it all, are you okay with that? And I think that, kind of, though, there's a couple things in mind. I figured on one end, I figured by the time, farmers figured life out on their end with their new direction, that I'd already be back to where I was, independent. But I was still afraid that if I didn't succeed, I may lose it all. And so I really had to come to terms with the question that I asked myself again, which is, what are you committed to? And the answer to that question was, if I lost my house, as long as I could have just a place, a 1-bedroom for me and my son, and could just survive at minimum, like that's what I was committed to. And I'd do whatever it took. And of course, that's part of the driving factor that, continue to work and grind and things of that nature. But we did try a shortcut.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. And I think you alluded to it before. It sounded great to buy an existing independent agency, to have revenue coming in right away.
Yeah.
That makes life easy, great, right? And I remember we went, I got a list of every independent agency in the state that I could find. I think I got it from the Big I. Split that list between the team. And like you had said before, we called 400 independent agencies. We found, I still remember the metrics, we found 26 that were interested, 4 or 5 that were viable. And at the end of the day, none of them really panned out. Every insurance agency really is a little bit different, has its own characteristic, structure, location, of course, and it just wasn't in the cards. And very fortunate that it wasn't in the cards,
right?
Because the right thing to do is what we did. So I wanted to. So that's a big preface to kind of like the why statement. So this is about the origin story I just told you, or we just talked about, kind of the story with farmers, and then the story in the independent world. And so why are we here? And what I'd like to do is I know there's a lot of people that are either in the captive world thinking about making a move, or maybe they're in the independent world and they're looking at solutions to current problems. In our independent branch, in our retail branch, so Darkhorse is one of our companies, the parent company's Garzella Group, and we've grown that organically from 0 to, believe it or not, $74 million in premium in just over 10 years. And I'm sure there's companies out there that have done it bigger, but I think that that's pretty good.
Right, and we went from 6 to 47 employees in 10 years. So that's huge.
Yeah, and what are some of the challenges that we've struggled with in order to be able to scale?
Staffing.
Yeah, staffing.
And getting the right people. But we've figured that out. For the most part, we've partnered with some great people to help us do that.
Well, in staffing is the overwhelmingly number one challenge that any insurance agency has to grow, but to B, scale. And that's going to be we're going to have a whole future episode set based on nothing but staffing and solutions to staffing. But staffing is certainly one of the solutions. We're going to talk about, so again, let me back up a little bit. So what I'm looking to do, or what we're looking to do, is really just provide people with solutions and value. Solutions to the challenges that they're facing, bring in guests long-term that can speak to those solutions, and really give people a platform, if you will, to get information and succeed. And it's a way of me giving back. I do enjoy the mentorship part of the business. I really like to develop people, so that's there's a lot of intrinsic reward for me there. I also, from an awareness standpoint, brings awareness to Darkhorse and our company, which is a platform model that helps you, that solves for a lot, if not all of these. Certainly not not a fit for everyone, but it is a fit for some. And even if it's not a fit, and you can still gain value from what we're talking about and the information we're providing, well, then I think that's a win-win-win. Right? We like to try to create 3 wins.
Right. Yeah. Talk a little bit about what the platform that Darkhorse offers and, what they can expect.
Well, so at a real high level, if you look at what's necessary to scale an agency, you've got an operational component. So like accounting is a big one. People don't really talk a lot about accounting, but it is really a big barrier to scaling, especially with the way, I always have accountants. So we've been through 2 or 3 different accounting firms until we just effectively built our own.
I did the accounting at one point. Remember that?
Yeah, I do remember it. Mm-hmm. I think that you did that, and that's when you were pregnant with Harper.
I went on maternity leave, and you had to do it.
You went on maternity leave, and I had to figure it out. I had 10 months or whatever to figure it out, and then all of a sudden you're gone, and then I had to figure it out, and I was like, I'm never doing this again.
Right.
And
then you took my advice, and you actually got. Did we outsource at that time?
Yeah, we outsourced it. We outsourced it 2 or 3 times, 2 times, and then brought it back in house, and then finally, the in house was manageable, right? But then we finally brought in a very high level person, Jason, to build and run that for the company, which has been great. So, but of course you've got the accounting function, you've got management, you've got HR, which becomes something that's scaling. You've got the technology, tech stack, all the integrations, things that go along with efficiency. Because one of the other things about insurance is, you've got 2 worlds, 2 main worlds. Of course, there's a lot more in that, but for the purpose of this conversation, you've got your personal lines, which the vast majority of any captive agent that's listening, that's their bread and butter. That's what they know very well. And then you have your commercial lines. That's really where the money's at. And we're also going to have a whole segment on commercial lines and creating your niche and some of the things that allows you to scale. You don't scale from 0 to 74 million in personal lines. I can tell you that. It's done in commercial. It's done in high level commercial. And so, of course, we've got a platform and structure and answers to help get you there, or at least even a version of there, should you choose. But you've got 2 different worlds. You've got the personal lines, and then of course you've got the commercial lines. You've got agency build commercial lines. Commercial lines can be a lot more complex, and so there's a lot more that goes into that. Well, so let's recap a little bit. We start out with kind of where we started, kind of where we're at now. We want to help agents get there, whether they're a captive or they're an independent and they're trying to scale. And we also want to make sure that we're continuing to provide value. And so I guess there's another, like the way that we're looking to close each of these off or end each of the podcasts is through a little segment. And I'm going to put you on the spot here.
Oh my goodness.
I know.
Great.
I know. And I don't know if it's even good to tell how I came to this, but I'm going to do it anyway. So I've got this segment called at the end of this called Ask Me Anything.
Okay.
Right? Can you
ask you anything?
Well, do you know where that came from?
No.
So Instagram, right? So first of all, I'm not a big social media person.
Me either. That's why I don't know.
Which is, again, one of the things that, especially in the world today, the social media marketing aspect is important. And so, again, as you're continuing to grow and evolve as a business owner, the things that you don't want to do and the things that you're uncomfortable doing are the things that you need to do, right? And so social media is one of them. This podcast could be an example of one of them. I think it's going pretty well so far. But out of that, so in Instagram, from time to time, you'll have, an attractive girl. She'll post on her thing, Ask Me Anything, with a question mark.
Oh my gosh.
And I look at it and I'm thinking to
I don't know
myself,
about
like,
this.
I think to myself, I'm like, oh my God, I can only imagine what questions she's getting.
Right.
And it just shocks me. It must be, maybe great for attention or whatever.
Yeah. Why open yourself up to that? But I don't know, whatever.
So
Not
I don't
judging.
know. So that gave me the thought to close it out with the same statement, but related to insurance, I think. So
Yeah. Ask you anything about insurance?
yeah, just anything as it relates to anything that came up, maybe that I didn't cover that would be relevant to the people listening.
Oh gosh, that is on the spot.
I told you so.
Relevance to what people want to hear. I don't know. I can't think of anything except for just really how they can learn more about Darkhorse.
Yeah. So how you learn about Darkhorse, I think if you go to darkhorseinsurance.com, there's a wealth of information there. There's also, there's a ton of video content, which is just not as free-flowing as this, right? It's done in a much more professional manner, I suppose. But a lot of good information there that kind of highlights a lot about our solution. We're also, I think, going to be, there will be an opportunity for individuals to, I think, send an email or ask questions to me, whatever those happen to be, and then I'll effectively answer those. And so again, and I also want to preface that, again, one of the goals is to bring awareness to Darkhorse in our company, but it's also to help others. And so always more than happy to provide people with information that can help them get to the next level, so to speak.
Yeah, you're always good at that. You like doing that.
Yeah.
Helping people.
It's a lot of fun.
That's where Darkhorse came from.
Yep, it is.
Is you wanted to, everything that was difficult for us leaving farmers, you wanted to make sure that you paved the way and took all of that difficult out for everyone moving forward, which is awesome. Because there's not a platform like it.
Yeah.
At all.
And that's great. And that's actually maybe a great way to end this is just on the name Darkhorse and where does it come from? And it's really, I think, something that's been consistent throughout certainly my life and my journey, especially starting as a farmer's agent. Like people are taking bets on how long I was going to last. Everyone thought I was going to fail. My dad, who's a big mentor of mine, always thought I'd be back. I'd be back home in Michigan within 5 months. Independent world. I remember sitting in like a BNI group or something like that, and people are asking the goals for the first year. And I think my best year at Farmers, I had done, I don't know, maybe $785,000 in revenue or something like that. And I told them that I needed to do that. I was going to do that in a year, and everyone laughed. And then I did it in a year.
And you did it. Yeah.
It actually outwrote our 10-year farmer's book in 18 months as an independent. But to the name Darkhorse, it's, you don't see them come, and then all of a sudden you're there and you're like, oh, wow, they did it. They're number one. And so I think that's, it's good to end on just kind of the name and what it means and how it came to be, which is just a reflection of my personal story, but really our story as a company.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah.
Thank you for tuning into our podcast, From the Darkhorse's Mouth. You can learn more about us at darkhorseinsurance.com.
Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn at Darkhorse Insurance Brokers, and send any questions to podcast@darkhorseinsurance.com.